Let's start with Maria de Belém Roseira. She's a graduate of law, but more importantly, and you have the CV in your the very brief bio in your documents. More importantly, she has been a member of Parliament. She has been Minister of of Public Health, and even President of the General Assembly of the World Health Organization. And it is particularly about issues of health in relation to technology assessment that she will talk. I'm very happy to give you the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for choosing Portugal for this meeting. I think it's very good for us, and I hope it will be very good for you also. Now I'm going to make a special presentation talking a little bit about our situation, how Parliament works and in which fields, and then special constraints we have now, and then what we would like to have as a result of this meeting. As you know, as in everywhere, our Parliament is responsible for approving the essential instruments of the Portuguese legal system. And I'm going to pass it through very quickly. And stop a little bit here in the competence for... I think I put that right. Monitoring and supervisory competence. And, of course, we have to appreciate the political governance program and monitor and consider Portugal's participation in the process of constructing the European Union. And in this field, we have special and specialized committees, as in all parliaments. And in what concerns health, of course, we have a health committee. And for research, we have that in the education and research committee. And of course, we analyze what each parliamentarian proposes as a project of law, and we have to appreciate the proposals coming from the government. Generally, they are first discussed in a plenary session in the parliament, and then they go down to the specialized committees where they are discussed. And I would like to stress that in what concerns healthcare system, as we all know, the objectives are improve efficiency and effectiveness in the healthcare system, inducing a more rational use of services and control of expenditures. And this was settled in the Memorandum of Understanding once we are under financial assistance. And this program is a very heavy one in the control of public expenditures. So it has an effect of making expenses, public expenses come down, and the first provision was to cut 550 million euros, but as the program did not run very well as it was predicted, the effective this expenses cut was more than 1 million, and of course it has some effects. So we have to evaluate how to cut, where to cut, and how can we introduce genomics and innovation in health system in order to preserve equity and the objectives of health system. As you see, the relationship between public expense coming down, the projections for the expectation of life to 2060, and our pyramid, so a lot of people. And many international agencies calling action in order to underline that pressure for cuts in public spending can have some effects, and of course it has a lot of effects in Portugal. We have an independent public structure called Infarmed, connected to EMA, the European Medicine Agency, with technical autonomy, with a mission to develop national guidelines on health technologies. Before it had the competences only for medicines, but now they have competence to develop national guidelines on health technologies such as drugs and medical devices based on the added therapeutic value, comparative effectiveness, and achieving gains in health. And these guidelines are for using of units of national health system. And its activity is growing in comparison with the EFA activity. Of course, we know and we believe that biotechnology, genomics, and informatics offer a growing range of approaches to help prevent, monitor, and detect, diagnose, and treat infectious diseases. And as the OECD says, appropriate policies are, however, necessary to ensure that the right tools reach the right people at the right time. It's our purpose when we legislate here in the Parliament. And to legislate well, we know that this requires policymakers to be knowledgeable about the science and its possibilities, to keep abreast with the progress in genetic science and technology, and also include genomics in the design and renewal of health interventions. And the expanding role of genetics in medicine and health necessitates international collaborative efforts. That's what we are doing here, and talking and asking and knowing about how things are developed in our countries and what can we adopt from your structures in order to introduce technology assessment. Once we are concerned of having good laws, incorporating innovative possibilities, but having the notion of the ethical, legal, and social issues in genomics. And we know that to be aware of that, we have to emphasize public education and public engagement, research and development, and building capacity. We in Portugal have a very good network of scientists in genetics, biologists, geneticists, and doctors. And so they are collaborating in all European networks like PHGEN2 project. They collaborated very actively and they brought us all this knowledge and all the concerns and all the possibilities of this kind of new technologies in order to incorporate them in legal framework and in order to incorporate the possibilities of these new tools in our health system, preserving equity and quality and all the evaluation, ethical evaluations we have to make. I didn't tell you, but we have two bodies here in the Parliament. One of them, National Committee on Ethics, and the other one, National Committee to Protect Data. Every data, but of course health data as the most sensitive ones. And they have to approve and appreciate all databases, and we know that with genomics we have another difficult problem to deal with, big data. Of course, it's a very big concern, and we want to deal with that in a very modern and a very protective way, but modern one. This project, as you know, have a lot of guidelines. I am not going to take a long time with this because I think you all know this, but I'd like to underline this scheme where society has to be aware of what is going on, and knowledge integration is absolutely indispensable in order to have informed public policy and to develop and evaluate health services. And all this network has to be working well, and sometimes we do this well because we have personal knowledge between each other, but we needed to do this in a most structured way. I'm going to go through all this because I have not enough time, but I would like to underline this Declaration of Rome, which intended to approve European best practice guidelines for quality assurance, provision and use of genome-based information and technologies. We, as I told you, participated in this work through our scientists. And of course, the aim of this declaration is to enforce laws. And the best way to enforce laws is to produce them in a very informed base. And that's what we have done, for instance, with clinical medical procreation. Here we have a very modern law giving possibilities to our scientists to develop all the new technologies in this field. And we have also a very modern law in what concerns genetic information and personal health data also. How do we do that? Of course, we have a first proposal. It can be made by one of us, parliamentarians, and then we create a specific working group, and afterwards we invite our researchers and our geneticists and doctors and all people in society having knowledge about that. We have the National Committee on Ethics. We consult them. They have only consultative competence, and then they elaborate a report upon that proposal of law, and we can follow their advices or not. It depends on political choice and political decision. And besides all these bodies, we consult also NGOs when something has some societal influence or consequences, because people likes very much to be involved, and if they are not involved, of course, the problems arrive afterwards. So we act in a very preventive way, trying to have a broader consultation upon this kind of laws that sometimes provoke some adverse reaction from society if they are not enough involved. and that's what we do. Of course, what we would like to have, it was perhaps a very small structure which could make a previous report, a previous study upon the consequences of certain legislation. I think that now we are talking about genomics, but of course if we have competencies on environment, on energy, and a lot of these kind of things, I think the most important for parliamentarians is to be aware of the good results and the bad consequences. And sometimes, as you know, we are very much approached by someone who wants to sell us, to sell, between commas, an idea, but we have to evaluate the perverse or possible negative consequences of certain things. That's what we do with genomics. Through a non-organized network, but a very good network. But in Parliament we don't have a specific team dedicated to technology assessment. We have this agency in public administration, depending on the government, but in Parliament we don't have. But our President intends to create a very small unit in order to preserve the good quality of legislation. What I would like to have, it would be something like Royal Society produces. I found out this document very interesting, Neuroscience and the Law. And as you know, we have a lot of research now in neuroscience. And what do you want to do with this? What do the governments want to do with that? What does society want to do with these new knowledges? And it can be for the good from the perspective of health. It can be to fight neurodegenerative diseases, but it can be used also for military purposes, how to enhance people, how to enhance soldiers. And now we begin transforming our brain in order to serve public goals. And of course, this committee, DARPA, is studying all these things and these perspectives could be used for bad and for good. And I think that we need to be aware that we have to fight blindness when we legislate. We have to have strategic thinking, and we need to go aware through information. And so technology assessment is a very, very important tool. We cannot give up. We know it exists. We know it can be done in a very structured way. We want to adopt this in the Parliament, not with a very strong or very expensive structure, but with a small team that, according to the kind of subject we have to legislate about, we can do it thinking, making some knowledge and deepening our knowledge about the consequences of that, about all the things around that, in order to have a very correct and good legislation to be and to serve for good. That's what we want to have, and that's why I thank you so much having chosen Portugal and this Parliament in order to present all the good practices around Europe. Thank you very much for your attention.